Do we need a reason to say that Steph Curry is the greatest shooter in NBA history? I don't think so. He is, simply put, the greatest marksman the NBA has ever seen. I mean, no one in history has made more three-pointers. So that should be the first point where I can start this gushing session over Steph. Before Steph came around, Ray Allen led the NBA in three-pointers made. He had 2,973 made three-pointers, and they came at a remarkable consistency of 40%. It took him 1,300 games to get there as well, and many believed that he'd never be surpassed. In that very list, there was also Reggie Miller. He's still in the top 5, by the way, and he's considered one of the greatest marksmen in the sport too. But then, Steph came around. He revolutionized the sport itself. These names would only shoot threes as one of their weapons. Their teams would rely on them to make them every now and then. But no one actually expected a team to build a team dependent on three-point shooting. Enter Steph Curry. He's played fewer games than every other player in the top 5 of the made three-pointers list. In fact, he has 437 fewer games than Ray Allen, and he's made 327 more three-pointers. That's absurd. Not to mention his shooting percentage, which hovers at just under 43%. Unbelievable. Do I need any other reason to crown him as the greatest shooter? Because I've got many more. For instance, what about the playoffs? How's Steph under pressure? Phenomenal. But if Steph deserves a mention here, so does his partner, the other Splash brother, Klay Thompson. Together, these two have led the Warriors to 4 championships. And in that time, these two have made a grand total of 1,012 three-pointers. Talk about performing under pressure, but back to Curry. His statistics are unbelievable in the playoffs. His three-point percentage is above 40%, but to make 561 three-pointers in the playoffs, that's worth so much more. That too, in only 134 games. And I'm sure we'll get to see many more of those long rangers dropping in the playoffs. But more importantly, Steph's the reason the three-pointer is revolutionized. For example, let's just take a look at the Lakers this season. They're being led by LeBron James, and they have the services of 2 other absolutely phenomenal all-stars in Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook. But somehow, the Lakers find themselves 12th in the West. Why? Well, while some of their off-court decisions might have played a major role, and the injuries to LeBron and AD too, I can't help but circle it back to Steph Curry. But what did he do? Basically, Steph's arrival made it an absolute must in the NBA to operate with deep shot makers. And the Lakers very clearly lack anyone who can make those shots on a consistent basis. That's a shame because almost every other team in the NBA has those marksmen, and they're having a ball against the Lakers in particular. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not for 1 second saying that Steph Curry invented the three-pointer or something. No, it's been around for many decades before Curry even arrived. It's the way he revolutionized the three, the way he is the poster child, the way he is supersizing it. Teams have realized that if they want to succeed in the NBA, they need shooters. And his skill set is the reason that the Warriors of the last decade have unlocked a completely new way of winning games. In fact, they've mastered it. And now, it's almost impossible to win a ring without having the support of shooters. But back to the micro level. Steph started by setting himself apart first. He doesn't only lead the three-pointers made list, it's the fact that he does it with such consistency. And of course, accuracy. And of course, the insane range that you can't help but marvel. That's primarily the reason that Steph has 38 games in his career already, and many more to come, of course, where he's made 9 three-pointers or more. Compare that to the next best on the list, you've got 10, Ray Allen, and he needed 1,300 career games to set that record. It took Curry to break his record in nearly half as many games. Unbelievable. And it's also the fact that Steph's jumper has become a trademark. People pay serious money to watch him play. He's definitely not your regular basketball player. You'd hardly recognize him in a supermarket, if not for that face, of course. But that's the thing. Steph Curry has taken this three-point thing and and he's made it his own. What other players treat floaters, Steph makes a mockery of 30-footers in the same fashion. And that beautiful jumper from the deep is a sight to behold. Nobody does it better. It's just the way he can keep on launching them from the deep, one after the other. But the most important factor behind Steph's greatness as a shooter is the efficiency of such a volume shooter. Again, for the sake of understanding this point, I'll take Yuta Watanabe's early season three-point form. The Japanese star was averaging nearly 70% from the three-point range, even prompting Kyrie Irving, his Nets teammate, to call him the best three-point shooter in the league. But there was an issue with that. Watanabe was only taking 2 or 3 shots per game, sometimes just the one. It was still an impressive feat to connect so many, but like any other statistic, the percentage tends to go down once you start making more shots. It's just simple maths. Just like in the all-time list of players with the greatest three-point percentages, there are a handful of players ahead of Steph. For instance, his coach, Steve Kerr. But Kerr, throughout his career, only attempted 5,000 or fewer shots. Steph, well, already has nearly 3,000 more in 100 games less. And when you consider the number of shots he takes, and then look at the consistency and the percentage with which he makes them, you realize that he's not just throwing the ball and praying. He knows he's knocking them down. But this consistency is actually outrageous. Steph also has the record for most straight games with three-pointers made, and this one is truly bonkers. For 233 straight games, Steph Curry made at least one three-pointer. The next best, just about 133 games less. But when Steph finally missed, it was in the NBA Finals against the Boston Celtics last season, and it was definitely a big deal. He went 0 for 9 from beyond the arc, only to rectify and teach the basketball a lesson the very next game. Steph went 13 of 17, his career best, which is why, unlike the GOAT debate, or the best point guard of all time debate, or any other sporting debate, this one really isn't a debate. Even Ray Allen said so. The man known as the greatest from the three-point range before Curry arrived was Ray Allen. And when he says that Steph's on his own level, one he made for himself, then you know just how good this demon is. He deserves all the flowers he gets. He is by far and large the greatest shooter the game has ever seen. But I'd even argue that the second best isn't Ray Allen anymore. No, it's not even James Harden or Damian Lillard. It's actually Steph's partner in crime, Klay Thompson. This brings me to the last point. The right environment and conditions can lead to perfection, which is something we can learn from Steph. He was raised by a father and a brother where shooting from the range was instilled in him from a very young age. And then he was lucky to land with the Golden State Warriors under the coaching of Steve Kerr, alongside another brother from another mother, Klay Thompson. And Steph made the most of these perfect situations to become the greatest three-point marksman of all time. That's all from me. See you next time.